Let's go, let's go, let's go. What's going on, good people? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Guys, we are on another great episode of Uncommon Mondays, this uncommon movement. So awesome, so exciting, guys. We are in episode 19, so celebrate with us tonight. Just so awesome, so fun. We're doing some great things. If you're watching from our YouTube outlet, our YouTube channel, go ahead, guys, and subscribe and share this podcast with as many people as you can. Same thing on social media, guys. Tonight, like the broadcast, leave comments, share it, and let's keep moving forward. Let's keep having some fun. I'm really excited about tonight. As usual, we're going to bring you another uncommon experience. And to get the show started, man, let me bring on my brother, a great mind and visionary leader, Mr. Dan Putnam. Dan, what's going on, partner? How you feeling tonight?
Man, I feel wonderful. Another great Monday. Weather's a little chilly, a little snowy and rainy here in Utah, but
yeah,
that's how March is. It can be 65 degrees one day and then get a foot of snow the next. You just never know what's happening. It just goes a little bit crazy, but great day.
Great day, man. Great day. Dan, how you feeling about how the uncommon movement is shaping up, formulating? It's been the formulation stage of the vision and everything that goes with it. I think it's been great. I know we've touched a lot of people around the country, some people internationally. It's coming together like Voltron, like the Transformers. You just see all these different elements coming in, and we talk about everything from health, mental health being a very big focus right now. Just want, as we get started, get some insight on where the movement is from you, Dan.
Yeah, you know what? Things always kind of take a life of their own. You kind of have a vision, and then you launch something, and then from that time forward, it's just kind of like learning, figuring out some new things. And man, I couldn't be more excited about the direction of this uncommon movement. The people that I know we're going to be able to affect, the brand that we're launching, the AI technology, the mental wellness program, and more than anything, just giving people a complete roadmap to be able to live the life of their dreams, something that every single person can afford. And here's the bottom line, Clavon. We talk about it all the time.
Yep.
The only way people can change is opportunity has to be present. And so we wanted to provide opportunity that has no ceiling ever, meaning there is no maximum income that you can earn. It's unlimited, truly. So it's just really whatever you can think up and dream of. There's 8 billion people in the world. We feel that we have a great product or service for every single one of them. And so in addition to the opportunity, we have an exact roadmap, an exact system that's been proven to do billions of dollars in sales all over the world. And then we have this podcast that the whole purpose is just to leave as many clues as possible of exactly what it takes to reach that top 1% and truly be uncommon in every aspect of your life, from health and fitness to residual income, having complete control of your time so that nobody ever tells you where you have to be, when you have to be there, when you can go on break, when you can go to lunch, when you can go to the bathroom, when you can go on vacation. It's truly able to live a life that you control, a life by design. And then we get there through personal development, accountability. And then at the end of the day, we just want to create as many great human beings as we possibly can that live a life full of giving back and literally just treating people well, lifting people up, never tearing people down, and just making the world a better place because of this massive uncommon movement that we're putting together. So day one was 11/11. We're now just getting into 4 or 5 months, and this is something that we knew from the beginning it's going to take a little bit of time to get some steam under our belts and get some wind in the sails and get things moving. But but it's happening. I can feel it. A little bit more happens every single day.
Yeah.
And kind of what we're looking at is I think the movement will be up and fully pushing with every product category, with all the systems, all the training fully engaged. In mid-May, we plan on kicking it off the 16th through the 18th in Atlanta with our the brand, the Uncommon brand, which will include shoelaces, socks, belts, shirts, hoodies, jackets, hats, sunglasses, watches, wristbands, wallets, water bottles, probably unlimited different items that will be available with the Uncommon brand. But more than just that branding, more than just that, gear and clothing and uniform and that type of thing. It's really what is behind the movement. But we want to switch things up a little bit this week, Clavon, and we talked about the Uncommon movement last week. We also have taken the time and interviewed myself. Now we're going to switch it a little bit and find out a little bit more about you, Clavon, about your background, where you grew up, how you grew up, what got you into the entrepreneurship mindset to become an entrepreneur. And then we'll go through those 5 questions. And I want to kind of pre-build a little bit for the next 5 weeks. We have 5 guests lined up for the next 5 weeks, and it's going to be fantastic. You're going to hear from a very diverse group of people, and all of them have one thing in common. They are uncommon men, and are definitely going to be dropping some nuggets. But let's have you drop some nuggets tonight and let people get to know you a little bit more, and what excites you, what's got you to where you are. And let's just go ahead and start out, Clavon, by letting people know a little bit about you, where you grew up, family situation, brothers, sisters, parents, and kind of what got you into this entrepreneur mindset.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Dan, that's exciting. That's fun. It's pretty interesting story. I mean, growing up northern, the East Coast region, really between New Jersey and New York all my life. And I had a fascinating, childhood, because I had grandparents that lived in a pretty, high-end part of the community, Verona, New Jersey. But I always kind of, also grew up in the urban area. So I had a very diversified, childhood, kind of like going to elementary school and middle school and high school in the suburbs and playing sports. And it was really awesome. But I actually lived many, many miles, or a couple of hours, maybe an hour or so, public transportation wise, away from where I actually went to school. And again, it was just a little bit more the urban reality and experience, kind of like middle class America. But then I can't really complain. I grew up in a mom and pop business. I saw entrepreneurship really early. A mom and pop health food store. It's literally, because I grew up, seeing entrepreneurship really, really early. And I think that was really fast. That was really fascinating for me.
So is that something that your dad started, your mom started, they started it together?
Yeah. Well, my father started the health food store, and I had it when they met. I mean, we're going back into like the mid and early 70s.
Oh, wow.
Way before, Whole
That was
Foods.
super early on in health food stores. It wasn't something that was, super popular at the time.
Right. Exactly. So, by the time I was in elementary school, let's say, I began working there and kind of grew up in that store. Yeah.
Awesome. And that they had that all the way through, like graduating high school or through junior high, or
Yeah, so there's so many great experiences in between, but I would say by the time I was in college, working there, on the weekends, or even by the time I got into my late 20s, early 30s, I mean, it started to look like a career space for me. I'm still there. I'm thinking about starting product lines and bringing in great holistic teachers and getting people certified, having classes and workshops and really, really looking at the industry, even from like a manufacturing perspective. And, we just retailed out of that spot. It got really, really, serious, a real love, a real passion for the industry. And, plus what it looked like to own a business, which was very difficult. I saw the difficulties of it. But I just know that that's where the spirit of entrepreneurship and my first understandings of, not really comprehending it, but just kind of see, okay, you can work a job, maybe you can have a small, family business. I'm starting to see these type of things, and what subconsciously, I think it was making an impact on me.
So how long did that go? Is the store still going now? Did they sell it or close it down eventually?
Yeah, very, very amazing. The first store was in Brooklyn, New York, in the '70s, and then in Newark, New Jersey. And believe it or not, it wasn't until COVID that the family really decided because of a lot of different dynamics. But that was the moment where it was just like after it was like 45 years,
Wow.
this great shift, and so we just kind of closed it down. But it's unique because there's some family members still kind of doing some wholesaling, drop shipping to certain clients around the country. There's a customer base they like but the storefront itself is closed down at this time. Yeah.
Wow. So all the way up until like 2020, 2021.
Yes. Yes.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes.
And so obviously the store to stay in business 45, 50 years, it must have been successful. What do you feel that you learned through that time working for family, working for your dad? Why do you think it was so successful? Because as you know, just your traditional mom and pop, non-franchise type stores,
Yeah.
is it something they started? Was it a franchise or?
Just
Yeah. So, I mean, if we're going to look statistically, it's a very small percent the last 45, 50 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a 1-2 punch. Dan, I think there was something about why I'm always attracted to leaders who are advocates, for something special, or visionaries, somebody who's maybe brings something to the table or to the community that's different. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it comes down to like, can you solve a problem and can you serve a need?
Mm.
And I know that in the '70s, it was very forward thinking to try to retail in the health industry with herbs and vitamins and things like that. But I think the impact that it made was the key. And the timing. So I think the need that it served for the community helped it self-facilitate over the years. And then as I reflect back, I got to also see that I was learning. We all were learning emotional intelligence, and again, it's a fancy word, but in simplicity, you only have retail when you have ideas like "Thank you for your patronage." Your health is our number one concern. That's
Yeah.
above the door. The customer's always right from a practical, decent perspective. Hey, treat that customer. I watched how he treated people, and he only believed in win-win business, whether it was a vendor of a high-end manufacturing corp or an independent vendor or customers or other. I watched him move. He only believed in win-win scenarios. We treated the people very, very well, and it was again a need. And so I think those were some of the major things. And then there's some details too, Dan. I mean, the store was like on the main street in the
Right.
city, Broad Street, a block away from City Hall, another block away from the finance building, right in front of Penn Station. And, even to those last 15, 20 years, a big stadium was right there built behind us, the Prudential Building, downtown Newark in New Jersey. And so location, I mean, something, that was phenomenal. All the walking
Right.
traffic, it was just a great, great thing.
Well,
Mhm.
as you know, I've spent a lot of time in the health and wellness space, and
Yeah.
it's something that I think if you do it right, it's always big business, just because of that simple fact that a lot of people start to realize that their health truly is their
Right.
first wealth. And
Right.
once it starts to go, and people start to struggle, they're
Mhm.
willing to do almost anything in order to feel better. I mean, if you just feel like crap every day, you'll talk to anybody, you'll listen to anybody, you'll try almost anything to try and feel a little bit better. And so if you do that business correctly, and you treat people the right way, obviously it can be a super successful business. And Clavon, that really brings us to kind of that first pillar that we talk about at Uncommon, and we believe 100% that your health is your first wealth, and it's something that we think that people should be focusing on.
Absolutely.
Um, Really more of a preventative mindset
Yeah.
instead of a curative mindset. One
Yeah.
of the things that I've noticed, especially in North America, and maybe even more so in the United States than Mexico or Canada, even though it's all considered North America, is the fact that we're kind of a curative society.
Right.
We just kind of think everything's good, everything's fine until a problem pops up, and then all of a sudden we're going to look for a cure. Now all of a sudden it's at the forefront of our mind. I saw something, actually just a video I was watching today, and I've heard this before, so it wasn't the first time that I heard it, but it was talking about the latest generation. Um, Maybe for the first time ever, they're thinking that it's going to start to be the majority of parents outliving their kids.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
And it's just like how much things have changed in the last 10 to 20 years in the
Yeah.
foods that we're eating. The just that straight curative. I mean, they're literally just looking for a magic potion or lotion or pill, without making any lifestyle changes. Hey, just give me something to take, give me a shot, give me something, and let me do whatever I want.
Hmm.
And people are kind of in that mindset. But you know how it is, you can kind of skew statistics, so I don't know how accurate it is, but it was talking about
It's a heavy one.
actual studies saying that this could be the first time ever that the parents on average will outlive the kids. That's crazy.
Crazy.
And so what are your thoughts as far as just obviously growing up in that industry, probably seeing a lot of people benefit
Yeah.
from, natural herbs, and paying attention to the foods that they're eating, the things that they're putting into their mouth, and moving the body. Um, what are your personal thoughts and opinions, Clavon, on just health and fitness, and paying attention to your health as far as overall success? Can you be considered truly successful if you don't have control of your health and your fitness levels, in your opinion?
I would say no, knowing that health is not a destination, right? Health is a journey.
Yeah.
Like health's a lifestyle. So you can be successful, um, but you're just not maximizing your potential. Because there's a block there. I
Yeah.
think there could be some trauma. There could be something in your mind, something that's going on with you that's keeping you from having that real strength of decision and consistency, programming yourself to be healthy. So when it's not there, there's usually something there that needs to be found and solved. Why do you have this information, but you're still not working out? It's still not full lifestyle, still not the proper diet. Why? And then this journey of fixing it is always going to, I think, make us a better person. But Dan, one last comment on that health food store, man. It was something really phenomenal, because I've been in health food stores all over the world, literally Caribbean nations, other countries, all over the states. And I never saw a health food. We had over 500 raw herbs
Oh, wow.
in jars all around the store, 500. And you would come in and buy them by the ounce. and people would come from the entire region, Chinatown and New York City, everywhere to get these herbs because there was just there. I haven't even seen to this day. I mean, you go into a great Whole Foods, they may have 25 herbs sitting there in a section, or another health food store may have 100. We have 500, right? And so I grew up weighing those herbs, the powders and this and that, and the roots and everything you can name, right? And when I say that is that, starting to understand, like at a young age, that is what food really was considered by those who were holistic and into the health consciousness, man. Like food was things that were still considered alive, with enzymes, with some type of like electrical current to them. They weren't, once it was processed, it was like really something different, was the mindset, So now I think the problem is that our foods are so chemically ingested. We all know this, right? So all these different growth hormones and all the different steroids and pesticides and just
preservatives,
right? So now you're not really consuming real food. The definition has been moved. And I think that's the one thing, is how many chemicals we put in our body over the last 30 to 50 years. And someone said something really scary that I was reading about this topic, Dan, and it was just like, man, eventually, if you keep eating foods that are genetically modified, your cellular structure is going to respond. You're going to start becoming genetically modified in one way, shape, or form.
I saw a statistic. I'm not going to bring it up. I'll need to look it up, or maybe the viewers can look it up, because I don't want to be too far off. But I remember it being absolutely amazing at how much of our DNA ends up not even being human, meaning all the other living organisms in our body and stuff like that. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. And a lot of them are necessary, but you start to get some really crazy things actually living inside of you that is not any fun. Nobody really likes to think about all these bugs and parasites and those types of things, but it can really get out of control in a hurry. You want to go through a rabbit hole on the internet, start looking at those videos and the surgeries when parasites get out of control and stuff like that. It's interesting that you say that, because I really didn't envision that type of health food store, Clayvon. I was envisioning more like GNC, where it just sells like everything from protein drinks to weight loss things. But I've been to, like in Dubai and when we were just in Morocco and stuff like that, when you go into those places that literally just have like barrels and barrels and barrels, like as far as you can see, of different herbs. And man, it was different and really was amazing. And I was intrigued by it. And I wanted to learn, well, what do I take for this and this and this? And I probably bought, I don't even know, I bet you both times, maybe $700-800 worth of herbs. And now that I have them all, I have bags all over. I don't remember how to take all of them. And so it's one of those things that it is interesting. I wish I had a little bit more of that knowledge, and maybe that's something I want to start working on a little bit more on the personal development side, learning more about the natural foods and herbs, because there's a saying that's really popped into my mind a lot lately, and that's that you can let your food be your medicine, or else your medicine will end up being your food. And another thing, when you really see how big of a turn, whoever it is, the people in charge, the big pharma, the big corporations, the government, all of those things, when even our vitamins aren't alive.
Right.
So when you go look at, just do this. I just challenge you. Go to any health food store or any place like that. Ask for a multivitamin. Look at it and find the fruits and vegetables in the supplement facts.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably won't even find one. So where are these vitamins coming from?
Well,
100% processed. It's a petroleum-based product. All chemicals come from coal tar, and people take them. Like, why in the world, Clayvon, would anybody buy a vitamin? What's the only reason they're going to buy a vitamin?
Because they are nutritionally deficient, because they're not eating the right foods.
Right. And their thought process is, how would they sell a vitamin that is 100% dead? How would the FDA even let that happen?
Yeah, come on.
It's absolutely pathetic
Yeah,
what we as citizens have allowed these three-letter agencies do. That is absolutely criminal. I mean, think about that. Vita
it's
means
criminal.
life, live. There's nothing live in these dead vitamins that
Right.
they're selling and turned it into multi-billion-dollar industry recommended by literally almost every single MD in the world. Yeah, one a day, Centrum. Okay, go look at one a day. Go look at Centrum. Go look at Flintstones. Go look at every one that you can possibly think of. And these are billion-dollar brands. These aren't little tiny mom and pop companies.
Mm-hmm.
Show me the fruits and vegetables on those supplement facts, and start looking at all things that have vitamins in them, and start looking, where's the fruits and vegetables? How are they creating these vitamins? What are they pulling them from? And it's just something to think about, and something that I think most people, they'll ask a medical doctor who they respect and who they take a ton of advice for. Should I take a multivitamin? And they're going to probably say yes. And so you go and you buy the one a day. You go and buy the Centrum. You see all the commercials. You see the MDs talking about them. But just take 2 seconds. Next time you go buy your favorite vitamin, look at the supplement facts. If you don't see fruits and vegetables, ask yourself, what is this? Where are these vitamins coming from? And I think you'll be surprised, because I think you will not find very many multivitamins. They are out there. They do exist. There are some companies that sell good products, not many, but most of them are just marketing companies, not health food companies. What you guys put together was a health food company, not a marketing company.
Absolutely.
And there is a big difference, but it is something that I've started to think a lot more about, and it is just crazy, the things that we're buying and spending all this money on, and the rates keep going higher and higher and higher with inflation, and we're not getting anything live in our foods. These chips and these crackers and all this processed food, and it's all FDA approved, and all these other things are FDA approved, and everybody looks to the FDA for great advice. Everybody looks to the MDs for great advice. But maybe you should start, changing the way you think a little bit, opening your mind a little bit, paying attention a little bit, not being in quite a hurry all the time, and start to think, where are these vitamins coming from that are on all these supplement facts? Because I don't see any fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
But it is something with Uncommon that we are super passionate about, and it's interesting the background that you've had in that, and seeing all of these herbs. I'll have to go grab all of my bags, and maybe you can tell me how to take them all, Clavon. Maybe it'll bring back some memories.
Yeah, because usually when you buy herbs, they're going to be either in the root form. The root could be ground up, or it could be lengthy sections of the root, or it'd be maybe powdered down, or it may be in a leaf, right? A leaf, for the most part. And so, here's the rule of thumb. Most herbs you drink once or twice a day, usually twice a day. And most herbs work best in combination, right? So if you can put 2 or 3 together, if they're all powders, or they're all leaves, or they're all sticks, or whatever the type of herb it is. And you hear it's always a brewing process and a steeping process. So once you get that boiling water, whatever herb you have, you let it steep. The longer you let it steep and then you drain it, the more potent that tea is. And most powders are going to dissolve, so you don't have to really worry about the steeping process there. But that's really the main rule to thumb of how to prepare your teas is you just steep and brew that herb or that root, that flower, and I strain it and then go to town twice a day.
Yeah, here, just right here on my desk. Here's let me see if I can get it there.
See
Here's
it.
a thing of saffron.
Oh yeah, saffron. Yep. You just brew that up, brew it, and that's it, brother. You
Yep.
know,
Got that in Dubai. Got some more in Morocco. So yeah,
mhm.
I have a bunch. So that's made me think back. So hopefully it got some other people thinking about what they're taking, the foods that they're eating, and the herbs and the teas and all of those types of things. Is it real? Is it alive? Or is it just these dead processed marketing companies taking our dollars and working with the MDs and the pharmaceutical companies to turn it into a big business?
And that business is about sickness, because at the end of the
Yeah,
day, I'm pretty convinced they would be happy that your body was just filled with the chemical residue from all the synthetic and processed products, a whole bunch of mucus from dairy products, and a whole bunch of starch getting you fatter and fatter and fatter. I mean, those are what they're marketing behind what we call food. It winds up being mucus, starch, and synthetic chemicals that is going to all give you two things: cancer and constipation. That's what it
right.
comes down to once you do the research.
And then they can get you on that first and second prescription that has just enough side effects to get the third and fourth prescriptions, that have just enough side effects to get the fifth and sixth prescriptions. And then the next thing you know, you went in for something that the local herb shop probably could have helped with a tea in the morning and a tea in the afternoon. And the next thing you know, now all of a sudden you're on 9 different prescriptions. Um, and hopefully you have insurance, so it's only costing you maybe $50 or $60, but it's costing everybody else, the insurance companies, $400, $500, $600.
Mm-hmm.
And the more people you can get on that type of an auto ship, the more money that's generated, and that's how you create these massive billion-dollar pharmaceutical companies, constantly. And it's just interesting that we just sit back and let it happen. So that's why this is the first part of the Uncommon movement, and it's why we're reaching out to 16-year-olds and up and saying, hey, let's focus on our health and our fitness and do that, especially when you're 16, 17, because you're starting to see type 2 diabetes going crazy and high school kids and junior high kids and younger stuff that they used to call adult onset diabetes, and now they just call it type 2 now. And then another thing that they Alzheimer's, dementia, all of that, they're actually calling type 3 diabetes. That all has the same root cause. And here's what's interesting: pretty much all of that's 100% self-inflicted, and nobody realizes that they're inflicting it on themselves, because they're just doing what they're seeing pounded in front of us every single day on commercials and stuff put out by the pharmaceutical companies, the food companies.
Let me throw you a curveball. Let me throw you a curveball, because I've been thinking about this since our last conversation. What do you say to this 1-2 punch, cause and effect? Because I want to end it with this question with the mental health therapy. Because here's what I think that's happening. I think also people are getting addicted, right, to the chemicals in the food, right? They're getting addicted because there's drugs in the food, a lot of concentrated substances. So now I believe that drug addiction can almost be like a disease. It's no longer. I mean, hey, it takes a lot of will to get yourself off drugs without therapy.
Yeah. Well, and they say they do call sugar a drug, and they say that it's harder to break a sugar addiction than a heroin addiction.
Thank you. Sugar, salt. So now I'm eating these foods for 20, 30 years. I have an addiction to them. Yeah. That's not being qualified socially, but it's an addiction. And it's an emotional addiction, whatever the case is, a chemical addiction. And so now, is it really our choice? And how much does mental health therapy come in to have a person now get the strength to break these addictions to these chemically infested foods? Because we're emotionally connected to the foods. And I just want to ask you that question really quick, Dan, because if it is an addiction, if it is like a damn chemical warfare, then is it really just the will of that individual, or is that visual actual victim? And what is it? What do they need to get empowered to break out of that? Breaking addiction and the mental health. It can affect all of them.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's the same thing as exactly. They need some coaching. They need some accountability partners. They need the same thing that anybody would need to get off of any drug. And that's why I think you're starting to see some of these companies, even like Calm and some of those that are jumping up within a year or two to multi-billion-dollar evaluations, because so many people are struggling mental wellness that they're going for any type of frequencies or any meditation or breath work. And so I think it's a combination. Here's something that's interesting. I don't have I have a watch right here. This isn't the exact one I was wearing, but it's very similar. And let me see if I can get it. Probably can't get it very close, but can you see the 1111 on there?
1111. Yep.
I was sitting in the sauna and I was wearing one of our Uncommon watches, and the guy across from me said, I see that 1111 on your watch. Why is that? And that turned into a very interesting conversation. And so I talked to him a little bit, and I said, a lot of people feel that 1111 is a powerful number, and they look at it as like a confirmation of something in their life, or even a reminder. And so we use 1111 in all of our branding, because with Uncommon, all of our people in this movement have made a commitment that they're going to live an uncommon life focused on health and fitness, residual income so they control their time, personal development, accountability, giving back to others. So we put 1111 on all of our gear as a reminder and a confirmation of a promise that they've made to themselves, so that anytime that they see it. And what he brought up, he said, well, all time's made up. And I said, of course. Time, everything is all made up when you really think about it.
Right.
Time is made up, that a group of people agreed of a way to keep time. And the only time that's relevant is present. That's the only real time. Right now is the only real time. We don't know about the future. The past no longer matters. You can learn from the past, so I wouldn't say that it doesn't matter at all. But I said, I agree with you 100%. Time is 100% made up. I'm glad that somebody made it up, because it sure makes it a lot more convenient to set up a meeting or to meet with somebody, instead of trying to describe, when the sun gets here, let's meet at, that, rock over there. And then you go and wait till their perception of where the sun is the same as your perception where the sun is. It's much easier to just say, hey, meet me here at 9:45. But then it went on to him talking about he was addicted to all the worst drugs you can possibly imagine, from fentanyl to heroin to cocaine to meth, crack, everything that you can think of. And he looked like a very healthy, phenomenal shape guy. And he said that I started talking a little bit more about the Uncommon movement and mental health and those things. And he said, what got him off all those drugs was breath work.
Wow. I believe that.
He got big into studying breath work and Wim Hof and several other people, even looking at some of the stuff with Gary Brecka, where he's talking so much on it. And so meditation and breath work got him off all the drugs, got him to focus on a healthy lifestyle, started listening more to Wim Hof, started listening more to Gary Brecka, started to make some different choices, started to make some different decisions with the people that he hung out with, the people that he looked to for guidance, looked to as friends. And now he's just on a massive mission to help people, learning about meditation and breath work, and focusing on the present and not necessarily worrying about the future or the past. So, but it was really interesting conversation, Clavon. And so I would say 100% your life can change through proper frequencies, controlling what comes into your mind, the same as controlling what comes into your mouth. And then things like breath work, and those can completely change your entire brain chemistry, getting into the right types of nootropics and things that it's already shown. Certain mushrooms like lion's mane can literally create completely brand new pathways in your brain. So I would say that meditation, frequency, breath work, it's probably just as important or more important what we put into what comes through our ears as what goes into our mouth. And you don't really think about that, but I've gone down. I don't want to get too deep into it on this podcast and go forever, but I've gone down a little bit of these rabbit holes of even when you look at the frequency of the most popular music, it's a frequency that creates anxiety and things like that, which you don't really think about, but it really starts to come. And one of the things with a product that we're launching that I'm so excited about, the thing that they talk about is you can let your emotions, your anxiety, and all of those things control you, or you can control your brain, which in turn is going to control your emotions, your anxiety, and all of those things, which in turn create our decisions and the things that we do and the foods that we lean towards and all of those. So much of the addiction to foods is the comfort that you're seeking, and learning to change that through what we think about, how we talk to ourselves, even just the strategies that we use for breathing. And I can absolutely guarantee you that will change people's lives.
Absolutely.
So anyways, that was kind of a lot of information there, but I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into that, health and fitness and the importance of it, just because of your background and stuff like that. But now let's jump on to the financial side, and specifically what we talk about and what we focus on in Uncommon is residual income for the sole purpose of controlling your time. There's a lot of ways to make money. We want you to make money that doesn't depend solely on your time, so that you have, again, complete control of the time. Nobody tells you when you have to be somewhere, what you have to do. And when you are somewhere, it's because that's exactly where you want to be. And when you're doing something, it's because that's what you want to be doing. Not because somebody's saying, Clavon, you got to be here at 7:30. And you say, no, I don't have to be anywhere at 7:30 unless you want to be somewhere at 7:30. So it's really just, we want to give people the opportunity to live a life on their terms. And that truly only happens through residual income. And I feel that most people don't even know of the different ways that they can create residual income. They might think that, I heard about that, singers get paid royalties on their songs every time they're played, and people get paid on the movies every time that somebody watches them, and all of these different types of things. And they understand those royalties, or they understand, if I have a whole bunch of houses and people pay rent every single month, and then I get more and more houses and more apartments, and they pay more and more rent, and that continues to come in. So they kind of understand the residual income in those. There's some residual income in like insurance business, where you sell policies and they'll pay you, every single month that they reorder. Things like and the nutrition space, software as a service, the AI space, all of these different types of things. Those are really what create residual income. But Clayvon, I know that you've done some things in your life to create, residual income. So I know it's important to you. But would you just talk a little bit about why controlling your time and why you do look at things, not just ways to make money? Of course, people have to have jobs that pay, by the hour or salaries to give you some time to build up that residual income. But again, another reason that we're focusing down on the 16, 17, 18-year-olds, 19, 20, 21, people that are still in school, so that we can get them controlling their time much sooner. Because by the time you graduate college, or depending on the life path that you take, get married, have some kids, all of those things, it gets harder and harder and harder to ever have the opportunity to control your time, especially if you don't even know the different options for residual income.
Right. Well, Dan, for me, there's nothing more important. I mean, obviously, health and wellness, health and fitness is first. We get that. Your mindset, where you are spiritually. Okay. Now we move into life. I mean, to me, Dan, here's how it works. I think residual income is a part of the equation of freedom. And that's so it's freedom right here, which is really, time freedom, having options, having the ability to grow and take care of your family and your future, freedom, time. And so how do you get that? Then that second word is leverage. Leverage is the byproduct of freedom, because now you can do things, you can do what you're here to do. Time freedom comes from leverage. So
explain a little bit what leverage is, Clayvon, just for the person that they've maybe heard the term leverage, but they may not know, well, what does leverage actually mean in financial?
From a financial perspective, you can look at it as multiple streams of income can give you leverage. For me, leverage in the most practical term is, hey, don't we have residual bills? Don't we have bills that come every single month regardless? And you're paying residual bills with an hourly wage. That's very tough. So let's say you're paying residual bills with residual income. So now that income has given you leverage. So now you're not tied to a 9 to 5. You're not trading time for money. If you can get free from trading time for money, whatever you've chosen has leveraged you. Leverage, the concept is to get you to a point where you have time freedom. So you got to pick a business model. You got to pick something to give you leverage, right? That's number one. And residual income is leverage income, because it can become passive, whatever gives you time freedom. And so when you think about freedom, you think about leverage. Residual income is the key to these words, because you got to make money when you're not working. And here's the final part to it. The most important thing for us to do, especially as men, is to leave back an inheritance in one way, shape, or form. To leave something back for another generation, for your children, or whatever the case is. Now, that I've learned, Dan, because I've had jobs and all you can do is pay your bills and survive.
Yeah.
Watched my father run a business that was very profitable, but outside of his lifestyle, that was pretty surface, bringing in 150, 200, I mean, very light, but very respectable, very, very amazing. There was no real big freedom there. Time freedom and lifestyle. Okay.
Well, it's because there really was no leverage. My parents were similar, but in the furniture business. So but they basically owned a job. Instead of working for somebody else for 40 hours a week, they worked for themselves for 60, 70, 80 hours.
80 hours. Exactly. And so that didn't work. And the only time I think the key, Dan, and you correct me if I'm wrong, because you've been in the wealth space. I really think the ultimate thing, other than the time freedom, is the ability to invest. So when you can invest, now your money can make money for you. And
Yeah.
that's got to be the ultimate thing, leaving back an inheritance, having your money work for you. And that only happens with residual income because you pay your bills residually and you have something left over where you can now invest. And so the reason why residual income is the most important thing that you embark on that I've thought about for the last 20 years, Dan, financial literacy, is not just because it gives you time freedom, but it allows you to have the responsibility to start making investments on a weekly and monthly level. I don't know many people who work an hourly wage or even have a salary that have enough left over to invest, for the future, and then all the principles that come with, living off of your interest and never touching the principal. All these great concepts come from a man who just started having enough residual income to pay his residual bills and then start making investments.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I really started to study leverage, I learned that there's three basic things that you can leverage. You can leverage time, you can leverage money, you can leverage effort.
Yeah.
And if you don't start investing at a very young age, it takes way more money, and most people never have that left over from just their typical job. So just as an example, my freshman year in college, the first course I took was Intro to Investments. They handed out a worksheet that said how to retire a millionaire. And at 18 years old, you needed to invest $75 a month in hopes of a 10% annual return, which isn't guaranteed, but it is possible. And then you needed to do that for 47 straight years in order to retire at 65 and have accumulated $1 million. But every year or every 5 or 10 years that you waited, the income became double, triple, quadruple, 10 times, 20 times, 30 times. And so if you didn't start investing until you got up to 40, 45, 50, now you only have 15 or 20 years of time. Now it's not taking 75, it's not taking 750, it's taking 5,000, 7,000, 10,000 a month in order to get those, depending on how long you wait. Now, obviously, 10,000 a month is going to be if you waited till your mid 50s or later, but it jumps up to that 75, 150, 250, 500, 700, 1,000 very fast. So this is something that you need to be focusing on if you're only leveraging time and money. It either takes a whole bunch of time or a whole bunch of money. And those are two things that most people don't have. So we want to get people more educated so they can start investing when they have a lot more time so that they don't need as much money. But then the other thing that you can leverage is effort. And this is where the people make the big money. The generational money is now you're leveraging time, you're leveraging money, you're leveraging effort. And that's going to be like your guys that own a ton of franchises. So where your family would have created leverage is if they had hundreds or thousands of health food stores that they got paid on every single month and somebody else was running them, but they were still making a 10, 15, 20% of the profits of every one of those businesses. Now they have leverage. Or you see people that build a massive life insurance agency, a massive real estate brokerage, and now they're getting dozens or hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands. I saw on a podcast, and I think that it was Grant Cardone talking to the founder of Remax, and the amount of money that brokerage has created is unbelievable. Right. I mean, you wouldn't even believe what it is, but why? Because literally there's hundreds of thousands or maybe even millions of Remax agents worldwide.
Hey, Dan, what in this industry, based on what you just said, I'm thinking about this term just popped in my head. And I want everyone to tell me if there's a better term to describe what you're saying right now, the epitome of leverage for networkers. Would you rather earn 100%, Dan, off your own efforts?
Oh, yeah.
Or
what is it, Linus Pauling? Or no, it wasn't Linus Pauling. It was J. Paul Getty.
Yeah. J. Paul Getty. Would you rather earn
Yeah.
100% off of your own efforts
Or
or
1% off of the efforts of 100 people?
Yeah, I mean, I think that epitomizes the idea of
No, it's the perfect example of what leverage is: building distribution networks, whether that's for insurance, whether that's for real estate, whether that's for nutritionals, whether that's for software products, regardless of what it's for. If you want to be able to create generational wealth, you need to be able to build a leveraged distribution network of some kind. It could be restaurants. So it could be in, owning one franchise and turning that into 100 franchises, or turning it into 500. It could be any of these things. But at the end of the day, the only way that you create generational wealth is through massive leverage. And again, that can be a combination of investments, of real estate, of this, that, or the other. But you want to find some sort of distribution network that you can build to create that massive leverage. And that's what's going to give you that control of your time. And so again, that's why we really focus on health and fitness. And then we get into residual income, so that, again, you're never in a position that somebody says, Clayvon, you're worth $10 an hour, $20 an hour, $30 an hour, $40 an hour, and you have to be here at this time, and you can go on break at that time, and you can go to lunch at this time, and you can go on vacation, and you can call in sick 3 times per year, whatever the thing is. It's like we constantly let everybody else run our entire life,
right?
And then we wonder why so many people struggle with depression. And I'd be depressed too if somebody was telling me what to do all the time, and what I was worth all the time, and where I needed to be. And it doesn't matter how bad traffic was or anything like that. I know so many people, Clayvon, that they might work 8 hours a day, but by the time they leave the house and get back to the house, it's more like 10, 12, 13 hours.
Exactly.
And there's nothing more frustrating for me. I think that one thing I was not blessed with, that I constantly need to work on, is patience. I don't know anything that I'd literally sit there and the frustration starts to build up more than taking 2 hours to go 20 miles when you're stuck in. I had a flight just this last week, and normally from the office, it's 25 minutes to the airport. So I normally will leave, and I have TSA pre-check and clear and all those things. So I normally will leave about 2 hours before my flight. I get there to the airport an hour and a half. I get through, no matter how big the line is, I normally get through in 10, 15 minutes with, the combination of clear and pre-check and stuff like that. And all of a sudden now the traffic hits when I'm about halfway there. I'm like, what in the world's going on? There shouldn't be this much traffic. And then it's at an absolute standstill. And I pull up the app to see, what it's looking like I'm going to get there. And then I start to get that panic of, man, I might not even make my flight. I left more than 2 hours before my flight. It literally took me, Clayvon, if I wouldn't have had pre-check and all of that, it took me almost an hour and 30 minutes to get to the airport, when it normally takes 25. And there's people that's just a normal part of their day every single day. They're spending an hour and a half to 2 hours in traffic 2 ways, because they start the job at the worst time possible. They end the job at the worst time possible. Everybody starts and ends at the same time. And so you have this massive traffic in both directions. And it just, I don't know, man. I couldn't imagine. I just don't think that's something I would stick with. I would have to find some other thing, move next door to my job that I can walk or ride a bike or do something. I couldn't spend that extra 2, 3, 4 hours every single day just sitting behind the wheel in traffic. It just makes no sense. But yet, tens and tens and tens of millions of people do it every single day and just put up with it.
Yeah.
So moving on, the next 2 things, Clayvon.
Yeah.
These are the things that help us get that health and fitness goals, help us get that residual income. And that's personal development is the first one we're going to talk about. So what are your thoughts on personal development? Are there any books that you've read, any mentors that you've followed, anything that you've just kind of learned on your own, trial and error, that you would give anybody advice as far as personal development? And that can be on health and fitness. It can be on financial things. It can be on, just mental wellness, just any type of person that you look to as a mentor.
Yeah, it's heavy, man. I mean, my whole life is a product of mentorship. I've had great mentors in my life. Man, oh man, oh man. And I think personal growth and development is everything. Dan, I mean, you and I are not going to go into war for the USA without going through boot camp, because the boot camp is going to give you some character, some skill sets, and some principles so you can be effective in that war. That's how I look at a life of personal growth and development. Ultimately, there's something for us to do, to produce. We're here for a reason. And most people are a little bit more powerful and profound than they think they are. And you got to be prepared. And like you can be prepared through learning from other people's situations, mistakes, pains. You can get prepared by going through your own, right? Whatever the case is, I think life is like this preparation process to get you ultimately to a place where you can do something special. And I think those who are focused on personal growth and development, you really expedite that process. For me, it's been the key, just growing on every level. You want to grow, spiritually, whatever that means to you, or if it's religiously, whatever that means to you, you want to continue growing your character. There's the new term out now over the last 3 years is emotional intelligence. Like if you don't really understand people, I mean, there's no leadership, if that's important to you, there's no, so just, everything you're talking about earlier in this broadcast, when you're talking about the mind, Dan, it's like mastering yourself, because your mind, here's the deal. I think this is the ultimate equation to life. Why personal growth and development is everything, because your mind controls your emotions.
Yeah. Your emotions control your decisions.
And your decisions, and I like to say even your actions,
and
then your actions are going to ultimately determine your results. So if we work that backward, there's no results if there's not the right actions, and there's not the right actions if the emotions aren't fueling them. And what fuels what? Where does it start? With the mind. So I think if people would focus on that power of just controlling, what are you watching? What are you listening to? We're going to be programmed one way or another. So the thing is, program yourself, just program yourself, input. What are you reading? What are you watching? What are you listening to? And then I think personal growth and development also gets you to a space of responsibility where you start to now reflect, going into the account, like reflecting on your character issues. Like you're more conscious. I think people who don't focus on personal, they can be an asshole, they could be selfish, they could be rude, they could be bitter, they could be walking around with trauma bonds, they could be lazy, but they don't even notice it. The personal growth and development is like a mirror that consistently makes you say, oh, I have to grow to go to this level I want to go to. There's nothing more important.
I heard something that really opened my eyes. And I think it was Alex Hormozi. I don't know if it's something that he heard from somebody else, because so much of, personal development is just different people saying what they've heard and what's impacted their life. But this was a big impact for me, because I'm always looking at like every month and is the business growing? Am I making more money? Are things good? Because I always feel busy. And what he talked about, Clavon, he said, if you feel that you're working hard every single day, and the aspects of your life aren't improving. So whatever you're focused on, if you're focused on business and making money, if you feel like you're actually working hard every day and you're not making more money every single month, you're not going in the right direction.
Period.
If you feel like you're working hard every day and you're not making more money, you're not focusing on the correct things. And most people never even think that. They just think, man, I just need to keep doing more and more and more. No, you don't. If it's not going in the right direction, you're not doing the right thing. Now, I do believe there's some degrees of that. Some things do take a little bit of time, but if you've been doing these same things for months and for years, and you're not seeing improvements monthly, and you're not seeing the income start to stack and get bigger and bigger, you're not doing the right things. You need to change what you're doing. And sometimes people get in this realm of it's like, well, geez, it worked for me, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But guess what? Times change. You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. We know the definition of insanity is those exact things. You keep doing the same things over and over and you're expecting different results. But it's crazy how many people, by definition, are 100% insane. Right. Because they literally keep doing the same things and think that somehow life's going to improve, life's going to change. Well, guess what? It's not. It's not going to improve. It's not going to get better. You're not doing the correct things. You need to change. And something I say all the time, one of my favorite sayings is nothing changes if nothing changes. And so getting into a little bit more depth on the personal development, exactly. I think you did a fantastic job of explaining why it's important, what it's all about. Are there any books? Are there any mentors that you would like to mention that some of these people could follow, look up, and just anything that you felt book-wise, mentor-wise, YouTube channel, Instagram page that you follow and you feel like it's impacted your life?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's someone on my mind, Dan, and my mind's frozen right now, but I'm okay with that because I think, when the student is ready to teach your peers, guys, just show up and find a mentor that's in the space of your career. Yeah. Someone that you can mimic and model. There's someone that the gentleman's name, I can see his face. But why was this important to me? One of the most greatest things I ever learned in my life was from this personal growth and development guru. And this is what he said, Dan, and I just want to talk about one book. He said, the key to life is increasing your value, right? He said, a value proposition. What am I becoming? How am I growing? And he said, here's the reason why. He said, what's money? And he said, money represents value, outside of the physicality of it being paper with ink on it. He said, money represents value. He said, so you have one person who's just going to work harder for money and another person who's going to increase their value. Because if money represents value, the more valuable you become, the more money you're going to attract. Yeah. And just that one conversation was life-changing for me. Because then I would spend the next 5 years, 7 years of my life focusing on increasing my value. And as I did that, I saw that I would begin to have more earning. So that's why you have a mentor, is to teach you something that may be in a blind spot that you're just not going to learn or come with on your own. And, so for me, Dan, I have just on my desk here 3 books that I think I highly recommend. Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer, Johnson. It's a simple 1-hour read, but everything changes. It's probably the only thing in life that you can guarantee that change is going to be ushered in. And you got to be ready for it. You got to be ready for it. And that book teaches you it in the most fun way. Guys, these are all obviously common sense pieces here, but I keep Cash Flow Quadrant on my mind. Some books are great, but some are very necessary because you got to be focused. This teaches you the difference between winning because you have a system and you're able to make investments. You have a business system that you either own, but it's giving you residual income and it's putting you in a position to invest as opposed to trading time for money and being on that rat wheel. And this is also an awesome piece by David Schwartz. Everybody knows The Magic of Thinking Big. And the reason why I love this is because, guys, at the end of the day, the one thing we're suffering from is getting comfortable with mediocrity. I think we all suffer from it. I think we all are getting too small. I think we've conditioned ourselves that the pain is normal. or the lack is normal. And that's probably the biggest blessing in the world. If there was ever a time when someone could sprinkle something on you and just wake you up, it would be this idea of, oh, think bigger. Oh, that's the key.
Yeah.
Be more necessary, need more. Let me just say one thing about thinking bigger, Dan. It was a concept, is that the problem is actually not the word need, because we do just enough to get what we need. But if a human being could ever transform their wants into their needs, hence thinking bigger and moving with the same desire of the things that you want with what you need, you'd have so many breakthroughs. So those are some books there, Dan, that I really love, and I have a pretty strong library. I know everybody doesn't do the audio books or actually like to read or find people on YouTube and watch and take notes, but I'm old school. I think success is duplication. I think all the information out there belongs to no one. There just may be a human being that's a vessel in that season to put that information out there. Whether it's Robert Kiyosaki or Anthony Robbins, it's all the information that belongs to us. So when you get it, you can duplicate it. You can live it, you can teach it to others. And I think that's the key.
Yeah, I think I talked a little bit about it last week or one of the weeks, but one of the things that really comes to my mind on that think bigger concept, or think big, is the number one killer of greatness is being good.
Exactly.
Somebody has a good job, they make $150,000 a year. But a lot of them are still not super happy. They're still kind of struggling, but it's just good enough. What keeps people from having a great relationship with their spouse?
Settling for a good one.
Having a good relationship. Because if the relationship is horrible, you just move on.
Right.
But a lot of times it's good, but it's nowhere near great. And what will keep you from having that great relationship is having a good one.
Yeah.
What'll keep you from that great job is having a good one. If you have a job that you hate, a lot of times you're going to work yourself out of that job, find something else. But you get a good job that just gives you just enough money to be somewhat comfortable, but nowhere near what you're capable of. That keeps you from being great. And again, it's just that whole concept. The number one killer of greatness is good. And so there's different levels in everything. Another thing that I've really started to focus on, and I think one of the reasons that has helped me become as successful as I have, and again, there's a lot of levels. I've never thought big enough. I think that it's really held me back. I think that I could have been 10 times bigger, 100 times bigger, if I thought differently and put different things in my mind. But here's one thing that I believe that helped me become successful is I found a couple things in the personal development space that I put into action. So I didn't just read the book, you hear the theory. I put it into action because I know some people that are 100 times smarter than me. Like there's a handful of people, I'm not going to say their names, but anytime I want to find out about something, I just call them and ask them. And you know what? I already know they're going to know. If I want to find the best whatever thing to buy, I don't go and do any research. I already have the friends that I know. They research everything. They don't ever do anything, but they research it. And so I just call them whatever he says I buy because I don't want to take all that time and do it. So there's one thing to get down all this personal development, and it's another thing to take action, create action, move it into your life. Knowing what to do is never going to make you any money unless you do it. So I really want to emphasize that what we focus on in personal development is finding some of these things and then putting them into your life and creating a plan of action and every single day. And that's how you create success. And here's what we've noticed. Again, this is our 19th episode. So we're coming up on 5 months. Every single person that we've interviewed on this, and including yourself and myself, had mentors, have read certain books, and have put certain things that we've learned into action. I find one of the best success strategies I call it R&D, which could be research and development. But research and development is very close to rob and duplicate, meaning you find somebody else that's already done it, just do the same thing. Duplicate what they've done. You want to find somebody that's got massive social media engagement. Okay, go find what they're posting on, post on something similar. And that's one of the great things now with AI. You can take all of their posts, change it up enough that now it becomes your own. And guess what? None of the information that they're talking about was probably something that they came up with. It's something that they read or they heard about or they did this or that. You know what I mean? There's very little in the personal development that is 100% original in 2024, because this personal development space has been out now for a long time, and again, it doesn't matter who said it. What matters is, like I hear stuff from different people. I don't know if they came up with it or who originally came up with it, and who cares who originally came up with it. It's whoever they hear it from is what it matters. But putting it into action is really the key. And one of the things that I think helps take this personal development and putting it into action is this next step, which is accountability. And we're talking about self-accountability. We're also talking about there's no way you can become accountable if you don't have anything to become accountable to, meaning you have to go out on the limb. You have to let people know about your goals, your dreams, what you're trying to do, or else there's no way that they can hold them accountable. I mean, you can't have somebody, if you're trying to get into the health and fitness and stick to your diet and exercise program, nobody's going to hold you accountable if you haven't told them what you want them to hold you accountable to. But here's the deal. If self-accountability was strong enough, the top 1% would be way better than it is. Because when we're talking about like moving to the top 1% in health and fitness, that's actually not very good. In order to really get healthy and fit, you're going to be in like the top 100th of 1%. When you get into the residual income, it's not going to be too exciting at the top 1%. You're going to have to get to the top 100th of 1%. So self-accountability just flat out is not working very good, because even to get to the top 1%, it's not very good. And so what we focus on is making known what your goals, what your dreams are, and putting together an accountability team to help you achieve those and stay on track. So what are your thoughts, Clavon, quickly, as we close out this podcast tonight on accountability, the importance of accountability, and just anything that comes to your mind when you think about accountability?
Well, I mean, it's just basically one or two things, Dan. I mean, we talked about boot camp earlier. If you have 25 men in boot camp to go into the Navy SEALs, go into the Army, the Air Force, if there's no generals or captains or military men there holding these cadets accountable, Dan, how many are going to graduate out of 25, or how many are going to go home before the 8 weeks or 3 months is over out of 25? If there's no accountability, I would say 20 to 24 are going to go home and check out. And maybe one would graduate. But with the accountability, no matter how hard it is, and I assume boot camp can be very difficult, you may have 20 to 25 actually graduate. So I think the accountability is key, because I don't think there's a great organization that's ever flourished or lived out their mission statements without the group being held accountable. I just don't think it's really possible. I know in my own life how hard it is to want something, to have a dream, to have a goal, to write it down, to affirm it. But in your own private world, sometimes you don't muster up. You might muster up the desire, but you're not mustering up the consistency. You're not mustering up the just the consistency, man. But accountability is great, because if you have someone who's invested into your success, it can be inspiring. Someone's got your back. I don't think we realize how important that is to have other people invested in our goals and dreams. So I think accountability is everything, Dan. It's like charting. It's almost like charting your business, because I think you got to really pay attention to something for it to grow, and keep checking in on it. And I think that's what we can do for each other. I've never been a part of a real systematic approach to anything. Systematic being a key word, where heavy accountability was held. I think that's the 1-2 punch for like something to explode and have like critical mass
for anything successful. Like, as an example, I think you gave a perfect example there with the armed forces. They have an exact accountability system. If they didn't have that, we would not be the country that we are.
Right.
Period. Also, look at the best businesses. Look at the most successful franchises. Why are franchises so successful? Because they can enforce accountability. You have to be accountable to that corporation for following their system exactly. And if you don't, you're out. Why are the best coaches the best coaches? I guarantee you they have accountability systems.
Right.
Why are the best leaders the best leaders? Not just because they're accountable to themselves, but because they hold everybody else on the team or in that organization accountable. You think Michael Jordan didn't care if other people were working hard at practice? You think he's just like, oh, well, as long as I'm working hard? Think Kobe Bryant didn't care if other people were giving it an effort? Do you think they didn't have these conversations of, what needs to happen in order to be an elite team? Do you think these best businessmen in the world don't put together exact accountability organizations? So I think you gave a great example of just the military and that whole thing, the whole dynamics, the entire setup of it is accountability. And you look at the top franchises, the entire setup of it is accountability. And you look at the top organizations of everything, whether it's sports, doesn't matter. It all has a strong structure of accountability. And the people that, again, even that self-accountable, they have that strong structure that they don't break promises to themselves. And they keep their word to themselves.
And you know what else, Dan? I thought of like, man, what's more important than a man being able to be responsible, right, for himself? And I think the accountability through a system, through a partnership, through some lane of authority, I think accountability is the prerequisite for individual responsibility. I think, you know what I mean? I think eventually an individual will grow and mature into being very responsible just because they were a part of an effective accountability system.
Yeah, no question. And then the last thing that we talk about, once you kind of have all this other down, and we believe even before you have it down, that you should be focused on giving back. And so I've had a quote that I've liked for a long time: "Get rich, give back." But I've learned some new things just recently that have really been on my mind. One of them with one of our partners. I was talking a little bit, and I've brought this coin up a couple times, and on the back of it says, "Never do anything that would make somebody feel small, starting with yourself." And then I was talking with one of our partners, and he had a thought come to his mind that just said, "Always leave them better." And what he is talking about is, in any situation in life, if you're in line at the grocery store and you have a conversation with somebody, if you're checking into a hotel, you have a conversation with somebody, if you're flying wherever and you have a conversation with the stewardess, or just always leave them better. And I know some people that are that way, and I also since I've heard that, I've tried to change my mindset, because anybody who flies a lot, man, and has very low patience like me, it can become so frustrating when the flights are canceled, the flights are delayed, and you're so mad you just want to yell at anybody. But that whole concept of always leave them better, literally when I wanted to be anything but nice, and I thought always leave them better, and the rest of that isn't repeated again, but basically and in turn, you'll always leave them better, meaning I will become a better human being. I will become better if I always leave them better. Always leave them worse, I'll always leave them worse. And I've also noticed that when you're super, super nice to people, when things go bad, they'll actually start to bend the rules and do some things that they wouldn't do if you weren't treating them with respect, if you wasn't saying, hey, I understand you have no control over this, neither do I, but are there any other options, anything that's even possible, or those types of things? But your entire world, I think, will change faster than you think if you focus on things like that. Always leave them better, repeated, always leave them better, meaning we always leave them better. Never do anything that would make somebody feel small, starting with yourself, because so often we're our own worst critics. So for me, giving back is huge. We've had these discussions. It completely changed my whole definition of success. I used to think success was all money. And then when I started to make some money and realizing how hard I was working, how much I was traveling, all of these types of things, then I started to think success was controlling your time. And then I started to basically say, you know what? Success is just being happy. You can have all the money in the world. You can have control of your time. But if you're a miserable person, how could you be like, that's success? And there's so many super wealthy people that are literally absolutely miserable. And you can just see that with the amount of suicides that we see every single year on people that you would never dream of.
Right.
They're the most successful musicians, the most successful actors and actresses, and the people that you think have everything that the little boys and girls dream of in their life. And they're absolutely miserable. So what is success? To me, success is being happy. And I can tell you from experience that helping other people in whatever different aspect makes me personally, and most of the people that I know, happier than like giving gifts, giving Christmas to people who don't even have one present. Yeah. Is way more exciting than giving that PlayStation 5 to the person that's had all the games of the 4, the 3, the 2, the 1. And if they don't get the PlayStation 5, then they're mad or that I don't know did you ever see on, I think it was on MTV, that Sweet 16? It's like the birthday party of like the rich. Ultra rich. And like, just seemed like some of those people are just absolutely horrible human beings. It's just like, it's sickening that this kid literally is like crazy upset if they don't get a $200,000 car for their 16th birthday, right, and a $1 million, birthday party. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I go to, in Colombia and Mexico and Peru and these different places and spend thousands or tens of thousands of dollars on gifts and give them to these kids that don't even have one gift. And they're happier than that 16-year-old that their parents just gave them a $100,000 car and a $1 million birthday party. You know what I mean? They just get that one gift. They're like happier than these other people that have everything that you can possibly imagine. And for me, I've never seen anything that brings more joy than giving back and helping others. So that's why I'm so passionate about it. That's why it's something that I talk about. It's why we put it into
Yeah.
this uncommon movement. What are your thoughts on it, Clavon? What do you think about giving back and the importance? Obviously, it's important because you give back your time every week on
Yeah.
the podcast and many other things that you do.
Yeah, so important, Dan. I mean, for me, it starts back with my mother. My mother, and just very blessed. I think many people can tell this story about their moms, just hearts of gold, just growing up in a community where my mom would feed everyone, no matter what we had, like she'd break it down and make sure everyone ate. I always had cousins, living with us for the summer, sometimes for school years, and just this generosity. I saw my mother, how she dealt with resources, finances to the rest of the family. And as I was getting into the later teenage years, she'd always tell me to go join community programs. Even as a young adult, join the Chamber of Commerce, join this church, that church, go volunteer, go do some community work. And was her. This was her. One of the biggest things she would train me on is getting out there and helping, and then especially the youth. And so my mom is where I learned this idea of giving back. And I watched how the blessings, people believe in karma, or things sometimes are spiritually reciprocal. I just watched her never need for anything, and all the blessings, and how she would stay full of joy by giving, and then she would receive. So it was a home cultural thing, starting with moms, that blew my mind. And I got to tell you something, Dan. There's probably one or two quick other examples of what it means to me. I would say back in 98, 99, just a young man at the health food store, the store was in a very, you know, a city community. It was a lot of energy, very big population, and the youth, right? So I had a gentleman, his name was Kenyatta, and he would come into the health food store, and he was very positive. And he said, one day I'm going to start a program called STEP, like Boys and Girls Club. But Dan, this is amazing because this is 98, 99, but it was for young boys, right? You got young boys coming up. Some of them, the fathers aren't there. Maybe the moms are going through some things. They're raising themselves. And back at that time, it was this emergence of a lot of big gang culture happening, in downtown Newark, New Jersey, and the little inner cities outside there. And so we started this program called STEP, Striving Together Equals Progress. And it was for young kids, young boys from the ages of 7 to 17, right? And so we'd grab them up after school and, take them on entrepreneurial trips and bring in tutors, and the first times at that time getting on computers and really, applying themselves. We bring in martial arts experts, food experts, teaching them about holistic, healthy foods, culture, history, just some phenomenal things. And then we would have graduations for them, and a lot of volunteers would come in to make the program still going on to this day. But that was life changing, because we watched these kids that were right on the verge of joining gangs and being real rough around the edge, being really angry because maybe dad wasn't around, this or that and the other. Sometimes you had the mom on subsidy. I mean, it was kind of like these were rough situations,
Right.
for these kids, right? But by the time they graduated, their sense of self-esteem, their sense of understanding a little bit more about cultural awareness or community value, entrepreneurship, what food is really about. I mean, we were doing this back then, man, and it was just amazing to see them speak at the graduations, and how the 17-year-olds would go off into maybe kind of come back and then volunteer. That showed me how important it is to invest in the youth, those moments of my life, right? And then I would say finally, then I got to give you props too when I talk about, giving back, because sometimes, people just don't want to. I like to just keep it real. I mean, everybody doesn't have, listen, when you amass millions of dollars in this capitalistic society, the US, there's a standard of some type of excellence you've achieved. No one gave you anything. We're talking about it happened through some sweat equity, family business, entrepreneurship. So I like when people are building riches and wealth. I think it's a good example. I think there's a lot to learn. I think if you go out to eat with a multimillionaire, or you go out to eat with someone who's built tens of millions of dollars, and you'll watch how they give. You watch like their humanitarian values, how like their philanthropic value, how they treat a waitress. I've seen you out and tip a waitress 3 times what our meal was. Things like that in different perspectives. I've been in Mexico with you and watched you take your whole company, spend an entire day giving book bags and gifts and schoolwork and pens and pencils and calculators and all that to all the youth in that region, all the different schools. And so I'm throwing you in there because, if I start off with my mom and I see things I did in my 20s and 30s for the community, and then I have a friend, a mentor, business partner that in his free time, giving back is the most important thing to him. I get to sit back and say, wow, I have enough examples. And it actually, blows me away. And when I looked at the Uncommon mission, the virtues and the values, and I saw the final pillar was, hey man, get rich and give back. I knew it wasn't just money. Leave them better. That means rich is, the energy you're coming with. Just the love to help people, extend your hand and make an impact on another person's life. That's get rich and give back. So there's so many things that we can do. But those are the 3 things that pop in my mind and why, Dan, giving back is so important, because that one person could turn around and then give that same gift of inspiration to 1,000 people. You touched one person. That's how, like the butterfly effect, how deep it is to have a positive impact on another person's life.
Yeah, no question. And I think that everybody that I know that's always, doing that and giving back, it's one of their favorite things to do. And so it's something that we really want to teach, we really want to focus on. And again, not just giving money, not just giving time, just doing that thing and concentrating, always leave them better. And in turn, always leave them better. Never do anything that makes somebody feel small, starting with yourself. Just those types of things and thinking about them, whether you're carrying a coin with you everywhere you go in your pocket or something like that, or some affirmation in your phone that you read. It's one of those things that you need to constantly be doing, because I can tell you, just like a couple times recently, I've caught myself when I was starting to get frustrated and angry, of thinking, you know what, I'm not going to do that. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to change the situation. The situation's already happened. This person that is the only member of that company that I feel like caused this. And sometimes it's not even their fault. Sometimes it is their fault. Sometimes it's just, whatever it is. And sometimes it could be in your favor, because you don't know what would have happened. If you know what I mean, it could be a blessing, and you don't even realize it. So just changing that mindset, I found it just as, it's better, because nothing really gets that good. But, yelling at somebody and how bad the company is. I mean, come on. They're there for one reason, because the company's paying them to be there. They didn't make the rules. They don't have any control of the rules. But I have learned, treat them with respect, be very polite, be very nice, and you have probably a better chance of getting some help than if you go off on them as if they're the whole cause of the problem of the airline or the whatever it is. And so I just think that it's something that can make your life a little bit easier and a little bit more enjoyable. Yeah. And, probably get more friends because you're a nicer person, and people like to do that. So that's everything that we, wanted to cover. Those are the 5 points, a little bit on your background, Clavon. Anything else that you want to end with? I'm good. So I'll just go ahead and let you end with any last thoughts and close out the podcast tonight.
Hey, listen, man, this has been awesome, Dan. I mean, it's an honor to really, share this broadcast with you, share this space with you. I love what it means. It's heartfelt. It's a real mission. It's real. And to be able to tell a little bit of my story and give some insight tonight was a privilege, man. I loved it. No, I would just end it with, I just think, more people should consider being a little bit more selfish. What I mean by that, like a season of selfishness where you're not letting the dramas distract you. You're not letting other people's issues distract you.
Mm.
You're getting out of that zone of focusing on everything that just concerns you. Everything that's going on with the media, the news, the globally, wars, this and that. I just think that a lot of people are a combination of eating the wrong foods, being highly stressed, and being really distracted to the point where we don't realize it and we're just numb. And I just really hope that people could realize that and try to break out of it. I think the first stage of freedom is probably just getting out of this matrix and just taking a big ass deep breath of air, right?
Yeah.
And then start fighting for some private goals that will give you happiness and leverage. But just detach from all the bullshit out here that's really smothering people. And then that's just the one thing. And that takes a lot of courage, because a lot of crap that's smothering you, you're in like this hypnotic rhythm and you don't even realize how distracting and dysfunctional, the crap really is. And that comes from friends. It comes from the algorithms of what's going on on your Instagram, on your Facebook. Yeah. I mean, how's that stuff geared up? Is it empowering or is it low vibrational? So, with that, Dan, that's my thing, man, is for everybody to just start focusing on the most important things in their lives and stop making excuses. That's it, brother. I mean, guys, if you watch this broadcast on YouTube, like we always say, man, share it, subscribe to the YouTube channel, be a permanent part of our family. Each one teach one. Same thing on social media, guys. If you're watching this on our group, share it, like it, comment, stay connected to us, man. And, Dan, this was wonderful, man. Episode 19, we're kicking butt.
All right. So next week, just as a teaser, we do have somebody that's one of the more successful people that I know, done some amazing things in real estate, done amazing things in the crypto space, all kinds of businesses at a young age. I don't know his exact age. I know he's probably 5, maybe 10 years younger than I am, and has created a lot more success. And so we're going to be hearing some great things next week from business, multiple types of businesses, multiple types of investments and things. So we'll definitely be getting a lot of good nuggets next week. Again, same time, same place. So it's a wrap.
All right, guys. See you guys next week. We are out of here.